G20 leaders are set to focus on climate change on the second of their two-day summit in Rome. The day began with a visit to the city's landmark Trevi fountain, said to make wishes come true for those who toss in a coin. And the wish list is long, with calls around the globe for action on not just the environment, but also vaccines for poorer countries and help to restart the global economy. On the first day of their meetings, leaders reached consensus on one issue, backing a minimum global tax rate of 15% for the world's biggest corporations.
Thousands have taken to the streets of the Italian capital to demand action on global warming. The G20 group of industrial nations assembled here accounts for an estimated 80% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Leaders posed for the traditional family photo alongside frontline emergency services workers in appreciation of their efforts during the pandemic. Expectations for this meeting and the key COP26 conference seem low.
They talk like blah, blah, blah and stuff, but I hope that they will do something, but I don't think so.
I don't expect that they will really decide something incisive for the future, something that can change it really for the population, for also the people of the third world. And I think that they are just meeting for discuss, but they won't change anything.
We don't really have any expectations regarding the outcomes of this meeting.
It's an emotional occasion for the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, the last of no less than 17 G20 summits that she's been to during her time in office. She hasn't missed a single one.
Of course, we are delighted to be able to be here in person. And it was especially moving at the family photo to see not just the political leaders, but also doctors, nurses and paramedics.
Merkel has brought along her most likely successor as Chancellor. Olaf Scholz took the opportunity to meet some of his future fellow heads of government. In the day's business, the politicians backed a 15% global minimum tax on corporations. They considered calls for faster deliveries of COVID-19 vaccines to poorer countries and made some vague commitments on climate change.
And let's cross directly now to DW correspondent Alexandra von Namen in Rome. Alexandra, what's on the agenda for today?
The climate crisis and how to fight the climate crisis, that is on the agenda today, a very important topic. And the question is, of course, whether the G20 leaders will be able to agree on concrete timelines and more ambitious climate goals. And the sticking point here is whether they will be able to set a concrete date for phasing out coal use, and we are hearing that this is still very controversial, and the negotiators were talking and trying to put a draft communique together the whole night. So it's still not clear whether we are going to see a strong signal before the UN climate conference in Glasgow starts today.
And the agreement on taxing multinationals seems like a big step forward when you look at past G20s, and usually they just finish with a communique. Will it be the only big decision, do you think?
Well, we'll see. This was, of course, a huge deal that the G20 leaders agreed on, this first major tax reform in decades. What we are hearing is also that it looks like they would be able to make good on their promise to provide 100 billion US dollars to help poorer nations combat the climate change and its consequences. So that could be possible. On the sidelines of this G20 meeting, there was another breaking news, so to speak. The US and the European Union were able to put aside their trade dispute with regards to aluminum and steel tariffs. So the European Union will be in the future able to export aluminum and steel to the United States tariff-free, at least up to certain quotas. And in return, it is not going to double down on tariffs on U.S. goods. So this is definitely good news for both sides.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot of other work being done, even if the climate remains the big thing, but the discussions will continue. Let's talk about Germany for a second. This is Chancellor Angela Merkel's final G20 summit. She's been a regular for over a decade. How do the other leaders view her as she leaves the world stage? She's brought along her likely successor, Olaf Scholz, as you know. Is there any nostalgia or anything like that?
Well, I think that, of course, everyone here would agree that she is a very respected and central figure here. And the fact that she arrived here not alone, but together with her likely successor, Olaf Scholz, went down well with our G20 leaders, our sources are saying. Both of them met, for example, the U.S. President Joe Biden or other leaders. And this is being seen here as a sign of continuity in German politics, but also as an excellent example how a smooth transition of power can happen.
Yeah, and I think we can see why. DW correspondent Alexandra von Namen reporting from Rome. Thanks so much for your insights.